Today's guest is a war veteran, author, keynote speaker, and medicine man. He specialises in the healing powers of plant medicine, with spiritual growth and self-discovery being the main aim. Away from the hustle and bustle of modern society, he is also an off-grid homesteader, living in harmony with the land and practicing sustainable living. Please give a massive Koit welcome to Drew Bankey. Hi Drew, and welcome to KoitCast.
Hey, thanks for having me. I
It's
appreciate the invitation and glad to be here.
And it's amazing to have you, so thank you ever so much for coming. We're going to be speaking about a lot of topics tonight that I've been interested in, but I've never discussed before, so it's a lovely one for me today, so thank you for that. Okay, let's start with, can you give a brief introduction to yourself, who you are, where you're from, all that good stuff?
Yeah, so I'm from the States, United States, born in Northwest Ohio, surrounded by cornfields. Um, I was adopted at birth, so didn't find out that I was adopted till I was 18. Um, so grew up pretty normal, like on a farm and everything, but didn't know I was adopted. Actually, the first 5 days of my life, I was Joshua Brandon Robinson. So I've kind of been in this transformational state ever since birth, just going on to different realities, and that's been the theme, especially my 30s on. I'm in my 40s now, but my 30s on is definitely the theme, putting on different hats seems every day, just evolving into something different. But yeah, went to Iraq in 2005. My first deployment was in Baghdad. Went through, well, no, went through a divorce. My second deployment. My second deployment was in 2007. Ramadi, Iraq. Went through a divorce to with my first wife, the mother to my first two children, Sienna and Gage. And heavy combat. My second deployment was a lot different than my first deployment. Just a lot of Seen a lot more action. Nothing extraordinary, no Navy SEAL stuff or anything like that. But it was definitely different than my first deployment. My first deployment was like riding around and hauling around dignitaries, generals, things like that, in an armored taxi, basically. Got hit by a few IEDs, but my second deployment was much different. And coupled with the divorce and all that stress, come back home with a lot of PTSD. Didn't realize it till 2014. Um, Culminated in a suicide attempt in 2014. Wound up in the ER. And my life got way worse than what it was before that suicide attempt. Lost my house, lost my business I was building at the time, and just lost everything. It was insane. But met my now wife in 2015, and yeah, just slowly, I guess, started to rebuild myself with the help of my wife. And uh 2014, the suicide attempt, that triggered the VA to start talking to me, and that figured out, like, a lot of my depression and suicidal tendencies and everything that went along with my PTSD was a result of the deployment. It kind of traced it back to that. And so got diagnosed with PTSD and started going through the VA treatment here in the States. And it's a lot of talk therapy and medication. And I don't know how it is over there, but I'm assuming it's kind of along the same lines, and not very much of the non-traditional um, healing ways. Anything. It was very westernized, I would say. And it just wasn't doing anything for me. So 2016 came along, and we ended up moving from Ohio to Florida at that time. And talking to another veteran, we started talking about ayahuasca. He just got back from Peru, and he'd done a couple ceremonies down there, and it just, he kept talking about how it changed his life. And that triggered me to go on, jump down the rabbit hole and start doing a bunch of research on ayahuasca and psychedelics and things like that. And yeah, like growing up in my teens, I did have experience with acid, things like that, but it was nothing, there was never a ceremonial setting and it wasn't very extensive, it was just kind of a toe in the water type of thing and not having a much intention behind it. And um it just fascinated me because there was nothing working for me at that point. Everything that I was taught to lean on, the VA and everything, there was options that were running out. There was nothing left for them really to do, and I wasn't getting any better. And I knew it was only going to get worse. And so me and my wife started looking for some place to do ceremony, and the only place was really South America at that time, and the price tag was outside of the range that we could afford. There's my donkey. We're let,
That's
we're letting him talk for a second.
that's amazing.
I'm actually on top of their horse stable, so I'm on top of the barn. My office is on top of the horse barn, so
Does that
it's
mean you get all wondrous smells emanating up?
no, they stay pretty clean. They have a large area and they don't really use the bathroom too much inside the barn too much. But no,
Good.
it's or maybe I'm just used to it. I don't know.
I'm actually going to say
But
yes to that, and I'll tell you why. My girlfriend is also into horses, right? She trains them and all that sort of stuff. And you can't get away from the smell, and she becomes immune to it. So she'll come back through the door and won't notice how bad the horse smell is, and I'll go, "Whoa, it hits you," and then it lingers in the
yeah.
house, and then I get used to that sort of subtle smell, so I know your pain.
I wouldn't trade it. I couldn't live in the city anymore, but um, going into well, my wife was looking for ceremonies. We couldn't afford to go down to South America, and she kept, searching for a place in the States, and she finally found one in Florida called Soul Quest Church of Mother Ayahuasca in Florida. And they were just getting started. I think maybe they're into it like a year at that time. They're still going. They've gotten really big and really successful, and over 15,000 people has been through their doors there doing drank ayahuasca. So they're really creating some waves on the energetic level. But anyways, yeah, she come up to me and she's like, "We're booked for like 5 weeks. You gotta stop drinking. We can't have sex up until now, until the ceremony. You gotta start drinking coffee. We can't eat meat anymore. Only fish. All these things, all this diet restrictions." She was telling me. At that time, I was like, "What the hell?" And it was just out of my mind for me not to have a mixed drink at night. At that time, and followed the diet pretty closely all the way to ceremony. My first cup, we had a Friday and Saturday night ceremony retreat set up, two ceremonies. The first ceremony was hell on earth, a lot of purging. Didn't see any colors, didn't see any visions. It was just in the bathroom. I was back and forth to the bathroom a lot. And the second night, I wanted to leave, woke my wife up. Uh, I asked her what her experience was because she was there with me. She drank the medicine for the first time as well, and she's said the same thing. She was just in the bathroom a lot. She was kind of questioning whether to even stay for the second night. And she's like, "We paid for it." I was like, "I don't care." I was like, "I can't go through another night like that. They can keep the money. I just want to go home." And end up talking to some of the staff there, and they explained to me lots of times in these situations, in ceremony setting, the first night will be a one way, and the second night will be polar opposite. And there couldn't be any more. They were dead on. 20 minutes into, I drank the first cup, the second night, and 20 minutes after I drank that first cup, I thought I was having my last breath. I got overtaken by a white light, met the spirit of ayahuasca, met the spirit of cannabis, and thus begun my journey into a whole nother world I didn't even knew existed. And once I got a glimpse of it, I went through a white light tunnel. I see I saw at that time what I perceived was past lives. Now I see them a little different, more dimensional spaces or frequency spaces that I operate in. But at that time, I was perceiving them as past lives, thousands of them. As I went through this tunnel, at the end of the tunnel, went to blackness and floated out into a blackness void and met the spirit of ayahuasca. And she explained to me, she's been with me my whole life. She will be with me my whole life. We'll be together, we'll be working together if I so choose. Just that was basically it. And I asked when I'd come back and talk again. She said as soon as you're ready. And I come back the next weekend and drank ayahuasca again and went into that ceremony with the intention of asking why I was here on this earth. And I was showed um my throat chakra and vocal cords were part of an evolution process that I needed to be used. My body needed to be used basically as a channel. And eventually I wouldn't, I fast forward in my story, I have channeled throughout this, my growth process and everything, but now I'm just more an open channel of source and Drew at the same time. So
That is one hell of a journey that you went on. I mean, donkey aside, you know what I mean? It's a
yeah,
big journey. I do need to ask you one question about the adoption, if that's okay.
sure.
I didn't want to know if it was. Oh, sorry, I do wanted to know if it was a sensitive topic for you or not. But if it's not, then I'll fire into the
I'm
question.
I'm I'm an open book. You'd be surprised at things I'd share with you.
Super ace. Oh, don't worry, there'll be loads of filthy questions as well. Um, I had this conversation with Tiff the other day actually about adoption. In that we kept seeing it on shows and that where if a person finds out they've been adopted at some point in their life, they find the need to find that original parent. Is that true? And was it true in your case?
Absolutely, yeah. It was first thing on my mind, just um if which I can't say enough about my adopted parents. I had a great childhood growing up, growing up on a farm, and I learned so much from my father and my mother. Can't say anything bad about them, but there is this overall need to like know where you come from, like, and that's I think that deep set of intuition that's inside us, or whatever you want to call it, goes far past even that, like wanting to know where your parents. I think even those that grew up with parents and know where they came from, had deep ties to their family and everything growing up, you still have that need of like, where do I come from? Okay, I come from here, but what's the rest of my story? Where do I really come from? And that drive, I think, is in all of us. And I think the overall answer to that question is somewhere out in the stars. I don't think there's a lot of, and I know I'm jumping ahead and probably busting a lot of minds right now, but there's a lot of psychics and people in my field that believe that we are the aliens on this planet, and I believe that as well. I don't think we're originally from here. I think we're originally from another planet. That's why we have to manipulate our environment. We're the only species on this planet that has to manipulate its environment so much to survive. And
Yeah, fertile
when
ground
when
there, which we're going to cover later, if that's okay with you.
yeah, sure,
Because
all
that's
of it,
that.
man.
Yeah, I got that for the later part of this one. But yeah, it's interesting that you said about it's like a yearning. You need to find your history, and I think in
Hmm.
some ways that's what a lot of the younger generation these days are missing, isn't it? The link to history, understanding where you come from, so know where you're going to.
Sure. It's especially all that ancestral medicine knowledge and stuff like that. It's in our day and age, it's been whitewashed by hospitals and these big corporations that has found a money-making scheme, and they've adapted a whole business around it, when the earth and our ancestral knowledge, shamanistic knowledge, even in the UK and all over the world, there's shamans in all different shapes and sizes that's used plant medicine, pray in the stars, use frequency and vibration, all this for eons. And now it's slowly coming back out of the darkness that has been shoved into by the corporations, that's been been really using medicine and healing as a money making tool, and
Exactly.
it's insane, and that's I've we do have to take donations for our work that we do with ceremonies now. We have our own church here that we do ceremonies, psychedelic ceremonies, and sky watches and sweat lodges and all that stuff. So we do take donations here, but my overall goal is one day, my overall prayer is to be able to offer these ceremonies and have the ability to do it completely free and, serve the poorest of the poor.
Just to sort of pass on the knowledge, so to speak, and give everyone access.
Just give people a chance at peace.
Mm.
That's that it's not about the star knowledge. It's not about ETs. It's not about telepathy or telekinesis, which is all these things are real and true and present in this day and age. But it's about peace inside the heart, like because everything else is a byproduct of that. All these other things, the things I mentioned prior, are all a byproduct of peace.
Mm. It's a noble quest, aiming for peace and aiming for peace for everyone. I hope that comes to fruition. But knowing that, knowing humanity is a thing, that probably won't happen anytime soon, unfortunately. But you're
I
you're
don't know.
chipping them
I
off
hope
one
I
at a
hope
time.
so. Yeah, I hope
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
It's I see I see things happening over the next couple of years that um just like just like the past couple of years, a lot of things have happened, especially in the US government and world governments talking openly about UFOs more openly. That has been a reality that if you had said that to me as a teenager or things like that, I would have said that I would not see that in my lifetime. So seeing that in my lifetime is opened up other possibilities to what else? What else is going to unfold? The aliens are real and the governments are admitting it. Like what else is going to unfold over the next couple of years?
Well, that's an interesting journey again to go on, isn't it? And like you say, I hope we're still alive to experience whatever that new paradigm is. So
Yeah.
let's see what
You know,
comes.
the ET stuff, it was never part of my existence until the ceremonies opened up my perception of reality. And then I started having actual experiences of ships and even face-to-face encounter near Chaco Canyon I had, and we could get into that, all of it. But
Yeah,
um,
definitely one for later again, if that's okay with you.
yeah,
But I
yeah,
want to get a grounding first, and then we'll branch into all the great stuff towards the end. And not that what we're
sure.
talking about now isn't great, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
The
It's
wider
the it's
sphere.
the it's the meat and potatoes that people come for. So
Aye. Okay, so let's look at what your journey was yourself into becoming a medicine man, because obviously you went to your first ayahuasca treatment, then you went back a second time, probably third, fourth, etc. How did
yeah.
you then take it for you to become a master, so to speak, and offering the services you do?
Um, well, the third ceremony, it showed me I was going to be speaking, and to back up at that time when I went to the medicine, like I said, I was drinking a glass of Crown and Coke every night at least, a
What's
Yeti cup
Crown?
full
What is that?
whiskey,
Ah, okay.
whiskey and Crown Royal and Coke. Um, so just a mixed drink every night at least. And after that first week, after those first two ceremonies, I went back home and I realized I was an alcoholic and didn't even realize it. And I've been an alcoholic for years and I thought having a drink every night and not being able to go a night without a drink. Had no idea I was really an alcoholic, and on the weekends, get slammed drunk, three or four, at least three nights out of the seven. And so there was a lot of eye-opening things about myself that come up, how even launder detergent, everything. There was just so many things that become super clear. I think I remember one thing distinct that it was like a day or two after I come back from that first weekend, I was eating an apple and
Hmm.
I went to go through the core in the trash. And immediately I was like, no, we got to start composting this. This is like, if I throw this apple in there, the seeds that were designed by creation are meant. to um, the whole design behind the apple was meant to be eaten and traveled with, and then the apple be spread away from the tree. That's the whole design behind the apple, or really any fruit that contains a seed or pit. It is enticing an animal to eat it and carry it a distance, drop it or eat it, and then excrement it out and fertilize it, really.
Hmm.
And so just these that's just one example of a download that come just very quickly just by going to throw an apple in there. I saw this whole process and why it's important. Like I saw that apple getting uh, pushed in between two pieces of plastic and wind up in a landfill or something somewhere and get buried and not being able to germinate, and lose its purpose. I found the first ayahuasca ceremonies let me see energy in everything, not not necessarily see it, but know it's there and no question about it, to the point where I can just look at something and I know it has energy. I know it's alive. I know there's consciousness behind it. And so that was like the first ceremony, the first couple ceremonies. The third ceremony really showed me my path. I had this vision of this light coming down from the sky into my crown chakra and going into uh my chakra system and going through my meridian points. And then that energy come up to my throat chakra. I saw my throat glow and I saw me start to translate this vibration and messages from the universe into words like I'm doing now. And I saw it going, I saw the vibration coming out, going through my system and then coming out of my mouth and my aura and travel to people. And I see it travel past people and I see it travel into people, past people. So I knew there was going to be some people ready to receive my message, or not my message, but the message I'm trying to pass on from the universe. And there's people that wouldn't feel it. So I knew that would be part of it. I saw myself writing books. I saw myself traveling the earth. I had this vision early on of me walking up to like a Dalai Lama or something, something similar to that. And in my mind, I was thinking about like kneeling down. And as I walk up to them, they kneel down in front of me, and these are first visions I was having. And I would describe myself as, an alcoholic, borderline addict, veteran at the time I went to ayahuasca. So this whole thing of spiritual leadership and writing books on spirituality and being as far as into it am I as now was so far out of my comfort zone to even think. But I just kept trusting in the medicine and going back and doing more ceremonies for my own healing because I was slowly getting better. I was slowly feeling better, and physically, emotionally, spiritually. So I just really kept going back to ayahuasca because it was making me feel better.
Hmm.
I was working through things, finding out why I was adopted, on a on a on a quantum level, why I was adopted, why that had to happen, why I went to Iraq, why I went through all this. And it showed me that's what led me to ayahuasca. That's what led me to a spiritual awakening, basically. And so it allowed all those traumas that I had leading up to ayahuasca, it allowed me to go back and give those an unboundless amount of gratitude because those are the steps that led me to my awakening of to the true reality of existence. And, you know, over time I was able to fold that that understanding of the universe, the understanding of oneness, consciousness, of source energy, of all that. I was able to fold that back around and apply that to my physical life, and now I'm starting to see the repercussions of that balance of the spiritual and physical being balanced now.
Hmm. Now, obviously, that's an amazing personal journey for you to go on, and obviously a big step change from where you were previously as you've gone through. But what then led you to not being the participating person, but the person running it or organizing it.
So I did a total of 6 ceremonies at Soul Quest, and that was probably within a month's time, I would say. And in
Hmm.
that time, in between ceremonies, we started volunteering at Soul Quest. So we started volunteering to help other people go through their journeys. So we would go and volunteer some weekends and wouldn't even do a ceremony. We would go and help people back and forth to the bathroom, wash clothes, empty out puke buckets, just
Oh, lovely.
really bottom of the barrel, service. But we were so happy to do it because
Have I frozen or have
we
you?
had those we
Ah.
had people that did that for us, and we know how important it was. I, you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine. I think you froze for a bit, but we're good now.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, but that service it was filling to us. I felt like I was really fulfilling something I was supposed to be doing. And I ended up getting a message while I was at Soul Quest to not do any more ceremonies there. And there would be someone coming to find me to do ceremonies. So um, ended up not doing any more ceremonies there. And shortly thereafter, within a couple months, I was asked to help organize a ceremony for a medicine man coming up from Chile. He was going to be serving San Pedro, and um, I never done San Pedro before at that point. It's another master teacher medicine. But yeah, I ended up meeting that was Renato that came up and did that first ceremony. Set up all night with San Pedro, sitting by the fire, ate copious amounts of it, didn't feel anything. And it didn't end up hitting me till almost 24 hours later, that medicine, but it hit me all at once. Like it built up, and I guess it just had some type of blockage that was keeping it from going through. And once it went through, it was pretty crazy. But
I
I
hope
ended
you
up
weren't
meeting.
operating heavy machinery at that time.
No, no, I was when it hit, I was actually on a kayak out in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico
Oh,
and
whoa.
off the coast of Florida, and yeah, it felt like a lightning bolt just struck me in the head. It almost physically knocked me off the kayak, but it was pretty crazy stuff. But end up spending probably a week or so with Renato and Renato Guerrero. He's our teacher now. Well, not really our teacher anymore, but more of a brother now. And had a talk with me after the ceremony, and explained to me some visions that he had, what I turned into during the ceremony. And yeah, we just kept talking and stay in contact. And eventually, he would travel the world. I think he's in the UK now. Renato's in the UK now doing ceremonies. You should look him. I should connect you with him and go do a ceremony with him. He's
Do you know
amazing.
what? Here's the weird thing, right? I'm not that I'm calling this drugs, but I'm heavily against toxifying my body in any way, shape, or form, right? Even though I know I do it, right, with things like Pepsi Max and shit like that, which has got all the aspartame
Yeah,
and stuff in it. But I
yeah.
want to do ayahuasca, but I really oppose puking. I can't. I'm like not phobic, but very near phobic of puking, and I'm worried about that side of things.
Let me ask you this: how many people you think feel the same way?
Shit, loads. Yeah.
It's part of the process, man. It's just, but I'm telling you, when you get to the point of purging, it doesn't matter. Like you might your mind thinking about it now, but when the actual point comes to where you have to lean over and do it, it does not matter. Like it's going to be it's the least of your worries at that point, you know. And the purge is really the point of division. And I tell people there's a physical reason and there's a spiritual reason why it happens at the purge. The physical reason is you're holding a psychedelic medicine in your stomach, and it's hitting receptors in your stomach. And as you go to purge, it's getting blasted with all the receptors in your esophagus and up and out of your mouth, every receptor is. So you're getting a blast of it actually from the purge because you're purging up that medicine. Like spiritually, you're releasing blockages, like your energetic blockages that are in your system. This medicine is using your higher self and your energetic self to compartmentalize that trauma and really bring it to the chakra systems and then release out the chakra system.
Mm.
So, but yeah, the everybody don't let the purge hold you up. It's really a mental blockage that's part of the process that it's really Western medicine that's done this to us. And that's uh over time, over generations, they have instilled in the collective that throwing up and purging is a bad thing. But if you go down to South America or any tribes or anything like that, it's a celebration. Like when someone throws up in an ayahuasca ceremony that I'm running now, I don't necessarily celebrate, but I know that I'm just like, oh,
Yay,
okay,
puke!
yeah, go for it. Do it
See, now
again.
I'm with you logically, and my brain tells me, yeah, it's just a thing that you've got to go through to get to wherever you need to go, right? I get all that, and yet I would still be hesitant. How many people are like me out there that get stuck at that
Everybody,
stage? Ah,
everybody,
good.
everybody.
Because I'm
You
not
know,
just being a
it's
gimp then.
no, it's everybody. It's not a pleasant thing, but
Hmm.
when that's the point of surrender you have to get to, and that's just one of the things of surrender that you need to get to have a proper psychedelic experience. You go, yeah, ultimately, you probably heard anyone that's ever talked about psychedelics or they talk about the near death um process that they go through or feeling that they're dying. I can't tell you how many times I've been in ceremony and felt like I was dying. But it's a process of letting go, and it's the more and more you can let go of this 3D cage that you're in, the more you can touch on the fourth dimensional, five dimensional and above existence. But the 3D cage is hard to get out of. But
Yeah,
it
yeah,
it may take a ceremony or two. That's why I tell people like don't get discouraged if you don't have grandiose visions of on the first ceremony because it's not meant for that. And then people ask me about bad trips. Bad trips is a question I always get asked. Like, what about a bad trip? In my mind, there is none. It's your perception of that moment. Like, because there's a lot of people that's had bad trips or bad moments. It may took them weeks or months or years, and then they come back and they're like, okay, that moment actually was one of the best moments of my life. I met Travis Walton.
oh, cool.
He's a famous abductee. There's movies about him and all kinds of stuff. I met him and I've been looking at his work and kind of not believing him so much up until 2019. I met him at a convention out in California, in Southern California, here in the States, and I got to talking with him, and I was like, Travis, I just got to know, like, what is your viewpoint of your experience now? He's like, they were trying to help me. He's like, I really don't believe that there's any bad ETs. And I was like, well, I was like, he really did have an experience because I mean, that's really ET and all that stuff is our future and past and present selves. Like they're on different dimensional fields or vibrations. I really believe that it's our relatives and going through these ceremonies um, with plant medicine and not with any ingestible medicine, no psychedelics at all. I've experienced some amazing things through Native American ceremonies. Here, um, try some of the like a Uwhippie ceremony for example. It's a Native American ceremony that involves just song, sound and vibration, and there's 28 different songs that are sung back to back to back. There's a break, I think, every 8 songs or so, and but there's like songs get sung like one right after another for 8 songs, and really it's kind of a Native American seance. So and that's done without any medicine, no psychedelics at all. And one thing I've come to realize all of it is our existence is a lot bigger than what we really perceive in our waking moment, our waking state in this time and place. Like there's all types of things that's possible that I've seen coming, especially ayahuasca is so much more well known now than what it was back in 2016. Um, Celebrities are doing it, so now people think that it's okay for them to do it. So it's just becoming more widespread, and I see I see the visions that I had in those first couple ceremonies and beyond. Since then, I see these visions coming true now. Like I saw at one point, one of my visions was in the early ceremonies was seeing a vine of ayahuasca come out. I was in space and I was looking at the earth and the big blue,
Hmm.
and I saw this vine come out and start to travel across the earth, and as it spread, it just become faster and faster, and fully it engulfed the whole earth. So I saw in a message of not just ayahuasca, but plant medicine in general, and these sacred ceremonies coming back and saving the earth. And yeah, I don't know, just
No, quality.
uh,
You're this chap that came up from South America. So he was the one that taught you everything, was it? So you would like just sat down and watched his ceremonies and then learnt from them, and then you became the master, so to speak. Is that how it works?
yeah, sitting beside him and watching what he's doing. Um, Being in his aura and getting messages um those first couple of years too, he was knew very little English, so it was more about just being with him. He knows a lot more now and is a lot more fluent English speaker now, but yeah, we're still great friends, and he travels the planet and does his work. But yeah, it's more just about sitting beside him, keep doing medicine. And eventually there was initiation ceremonies where um we would go out and hike with people, and uh there's a ceremony where he basically initiated me and another gentleman at that time in the ceremony. And my messages in my dream space and my comfortableness with the work, skyrocketed after that ceremony. And um, that's where I get most of my messages from really now, is just dream space. I really haven't said in a major ceremony myself, just for myself in a very probably couple years. But when I do, it's just with close friends that are other medicine people in this area. And they all of us have been working with the medicine for a very long time. We live in a very interesting area in Colorado. We live in a valley, a San Luis Valley. It's close to the Great Sand Dunes. It's a well-known spot that you can see from satellite imagery. It's a huge sand dunes that is close to here. But this valley is very well known for UFO activity and medicine work, and um, it's old tribal land of the Navajo Nation and um, other Western um, tribes that were in this area for a very long time. Tons of ceremonies been in this area, but yeah,
Well,
just
you've just mentioned Native Americans there. Now, obviously, well, not obviously again, but your Amazon page states that you hold such Native American distinctions as sun dancer and sacred pipe carrier. What do those mean, by the way?
so Sundance is um, a ceremony that's done by like less than 1% of Native Americans or anyone following this path. I have a small amount of Native American blood from my biological father, Shoshone, and my wife has um, Blackfoot ancestry in her. So part of a Sundance ceremony is a ceremony that's done once a year, usually in the summer. It's a 4-day ceremony. So you fast for 4 days without food and water. And
Crikey.
from sun up to sundown, you're dancing. So you're there's a big drum, like a Native American drum, and there's a group of guys that are around it, and they're singing ancient songs, Native American songs, Lakota songs, Anishinaabe songs, but they're all like prayer songs, praying to eagles and bears and thunder and deer and all kinds of stuff, bears and all kinds of stuff. But those songs are sung all day long, and you're dancing in the sun all day long. So there's a tree that's there. It's called a Sundance tree. That's usually chopped down and carried by the sun dancers from a wood line out into the middle of the field, stood up and put into a pre-dug hole that's there. And you dance around that tree. There's prayers that go along with it. There's all types of details that I could share with you, but we don't need to really, the
Hmm.
type of tree and all that stuff. But um, it's a large tree, probably 35 feet tall or so, but it's carried by all the sun dancers. And, some groups, there's 300 sun dancers that take part in this ceremony. And that's just the guys out there dancing, and they're dancing with eagle feathers in their hair, um, red fabric wrapped around them, and that's basically it. Maybe some ancestral jewelry or something like that. But yeah, that's all they have on, and they're out there dancing from sun up to sundown. Then the kicker part of all this, there's also a piercing involved. So
Ooh.
at one part of it, um, the sun dancers pierce. So, and this is all done in the way they pierce is decided beforehand by the sun dancer, and he's actually asking in dream space in the months leading up to Sundance. He'll go out and talk to the stars with tobacco, like smoking a tobacco cigarette, and pray to the stars and ask for a dream. This is how it's happened for me. Exactly how it happened for me. Um, my second and third year sun dancing. I would go out and I pray to the stars, how am I supposed to pray this year? And it would show me I'm supposed to pierce on the front or pierce on the back. So you pierce, you put wood pegs through your chest, and strings are attached, and they come up to meet in one string, and that's attached to the tree you're dancing around. And normally you would do it just one round. So you would like pierce at the beginning of that round and then hook up to the tree. And at the end of that round, when that round was, because you do 4 rounds each day, you have a small break in between rounds to catch your breath and everything. It could be anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour or whatever, but then you're back out there dancing. And so the piercing is done usually at the beginning of a round, and when that round is about to end, one of the chiefs will come by and he'd be like, "Go to the tree 4 times, and on the fourth time, run away from the tree." So you would go walk up to the tree, have your rope, and you'd have it in your hand, kind of rolling it up and being careful with it because it's attached to you
Mm.
and it's attached to the tree. And you'd walk back, you do it again, and on that fourth time you would just run backwards, and it would break your skin. And usually that's a lot of times that's where people have their vision in the Sundance. You're going to shock, you fall to the ground, pass out, and you have a vision. um
So is the
and
ultimate quest of this sun dancing to put yourself through whatever, all these like tasks, so to speak, just to get you to a mind space where you're having a vision? Is that the whole point?
that's not the whole point, but it's on the physical side, it has a lot to do with it, the fasting and everything. And you're dehydrated obviously by the end of it.
Hmm.
You're not drinking any water or any food the whole time. So, and you're sweating your ass off for 12, 13, 14 hours a day. And plus the piercing, the piercing is kind of the culmination of it. um all of it has specific reasons which would take hours to get into, different reasons for the Sundance. But one of the reasons is, traditionally it's only done by males. Now it's, especially over the past 10, 15 years or so, women have started doing it more. But traditionally, one of the reasons for the Sundance was because it's 4 days, it would give a male, a chance to give blood back to the earth, which a woman gets to do that 12 times a year.
Mm.
It would give the man that a chance to do that once, give blood back to the earth, because when you break, a drop of blood hits the earth, and giving that blood back to the earth, it's a connection, a cycle connection that's very deep in the creation story. And and to have a balance in the males, to give them more feminine side. And that's why warriors traditionally did it. These uh warrior warrior societies inside tribes, those were really the first people to do them, and medicine people. And it was just a connection back to the spirit, and kind of um just furthering deepen your connection to the spirit, and let them know that you were, because really when you go out there to Sundance, you have to really have in your mindset, I could die out here, and that's totally okay.
Mm.
That's, if I do, that's what's supposed to happen. And really deep in the psyche of a Sundancer, um, they would see that as the most sacred way to pass to the other side, would be in a Sundance. And definitely speaking, I shouldn't speak for others, but that's in my own mind. And I know it's shared by others, but I would just speak for myself, that that was in my mind, that if I could die during it's very strenuous. It takes weeks or sometimes months to recover after Sundance, to get fully back right, to get your weight back, it's hard physically on your body, but the repercussions physically, I mean, are spiritually, um, I really don't have words to describe. You have a connection to the spirits, that's to the universe, that's just hard to describe and put into words, articulate. But
Mm.
it happens. So I did that for 3 years, 2017, 2018, and 2019. 2018, I pulled skulls. So I pulled buffalo skulls with piercings on my back.
Oh,
And I pulled
crikey.
those. Um, if you can envision like an American baseball diamond, like a
Hmm.
like a baseball a diamond, it's like four times around a baseball diamond, which would be kind of give you an idea of how far I drug them. And so you drug them four times around this big ceremony space that you're in, and you're on the outskirts of it. And so it's about the size of the diamond itself, like the four, first, second, third, and home plate. That's about the size of it.
Just puts us to
Uh,
shame in the Western world, doesn't it? It just shows these Native Americans are hardcore,
you know, um,
proper.
I did it 3 years, and I couldn't see myself doing it again. But some of these people, their whole chest is full of scars. I have scars on my chest, scars on my back, and um, that's like a badge of honor, like, sweat lodges and things like that. Now,
Mm.
when I take off my shirt, people know. Like, if you know, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but some of these guys, they're in their 60s or 70 years old and still doing this. And it just goes to show that there's a point that our physical self says, oh, I can't go past that. But there's a whole nother realm that lies on the other side of it, that that's there. We have energy supplies. We can go days and days past what we think we can. If we push ourselves, and seeing these old elders out there, that can barely walk, and they get out there and start dancing, and you see the spirit like come over them, and dance for 4 days, and then after it, they're back to like walking crunched over around. It's like, man, you can really
It's like
definitely know
Yoda.
that
That's
there's.
like Yoda in Attack of the Clones, if you've ever seen that movie.
I haven't. I'm not.
Yeah, okay. He does that.
I, I haven't, but I get the reference, and
Mm.
yeah, yeah, the Sundance has taught me so much, and had a near death in 2019 in the Sundance. Died in Arbor. I was no, not breathing, no slow or no pulse, a pulse that they really couldn't even feel. And um, after come out of that after 5 minutes and set up, I heard someone say he doesn't have a pulse, and I was like, well, I got set up, they think I'm dead. And when I did, I sat out of my body and had the whole near death experience where I started floating away. And then I had a choice. I realized I had a choice of whether I kept going to wherever I was going or come back to my body. And I just decided I'd come back to my body, but I wanted to remember it so I could share it. And um,
Well, let's
yeah,
hit
I
the
got to.
NDE now then. I was meant to go through this later on, but let's go through it now because it's a perfectly apt point. Yeah, so you were sun dancing. You obviously got to a point where you really destroyed yourself, so to speak, keeled over, and then you sat up out of your body. Can you explain from there everything that happened?
Um, Yeah, when I setting out of my body, from the time of setting out of my body, hearing he doesn't have a pulse, and here it was like blackness. I couldn't see anything, but I could hear just fine. I was there. It was just if I was covering up the camera and me still talking, I
Yeah.
was still completely there. And I was like, oh, I got to set up because they think I'm dead. So I got to set up and show them I'm not. When I did, I sat out of my body and was standing there beside my body for a second, and I was like, "Oh, I'm dead. Crazy. What a way to die." Looking around, I was like, "Well, this is a huge ceremony." There's because not only the sun dancers are there, there's all their wives and usually their children and their families are around. So sometimes there's 20 people in the arbor dancing as sun dancers, and maybe there's hundreds around watching.
Mm.
And so everybody's equally as part of it, really, when you get down to it. Everybody is equally as important around that space. Everybody's needed because the sun dancers really can't sun dance without the support of other people being there, like praying for them. And those people that stand around watching, that's all they're doing is praying. Like, I know my wife was has told me many stories where she watched me like piercing and stuff like that. And she was crying and really praying really deeply of, compassion and stuff like that for me. So yeah, it's just, I was okay with death. And I just started floating away from my body. Um, I kind of knew I was about to go start another journey. I was going straight from that body to another journey. And there was no pain, no anxiety or anything. And but I felt no difference than I do now, other than I didn't have a form anymore. I was still had my sense of humor and everything about Drew that is now was still there. Kept started floating away. And I started thinking, I was like, oh, I'm dying. I'm fine with it, but how's it going to affect my wife? How's it going to affect my kids? How's it going to, all this? And start going through all these questions. And I started to see simultaneously of how each person was going to react to both options. One was me to continue dying, and one was me to go to my body and wake up and really go back into my spirit to go back into my body. I saw both ways, and I kind of calculated all out that it would be better for me to go back to my body for everybody. It was just how it was going to pan out for everybody. And I got to see how it was going to affect my kids, everything, not how they're just going to react, but how it was going to affect their whole lives. So, and how it was going to affect my wife and everybody that I knew, the tidal wave that I was going to have both ways. So I come back and I was like, okay, but I want to remember this because I want to tell people like it seems like there's a big joke because when I come back to my body, so I come back to my body and I sat up physically and I laughed for like a good 20 minutes because I was like, holy shit. I was like, everybody, like every but every all these books, everything that talks about this They got it all wrong. It's like, because you never die. And I was like, oh, but some books have it right. Like these spiritual
Mm.
books that talk about eternal life and stuff. I was like, people are like writing this off as wish-wash or not true or fantasy, but eternal life is here and now. Like we do have it. It's a mindset, it's perception. It's an understanding that you have to have in the physical that I'm glad that I have now. Like it's took away my fear of death, and I understand um, that life in general, especially on the Western side of things and Christianity, any religions that talks about heaven, things like that, they they're not really telling the truth. Like the Hindu, Buddhist, thing like that, to talk about reincarnation. It's more along those lines, but the one thing that people need to understand, it's very confusing when you die because the light never shuts off and there's never a pause in consciousness of yourself. So it's very, very confusing when your body actually dies or when your body stops. And because a lot of people don't even know it happens for a minute. If I went and heard someone say he doesn't have a pulse, I don't know how long it would took for me to realize that I was dead.
That's weird, isn't it? Well, you're not weird, but you're the first person I've heard say that, and I like it because it just means I could go from being talking to you right now to all of a sudden be dead, and I don't know that I'm dead. Is that exactly right? Until I then
It's
would look
exact
over and see the body, sort of thing.
That's exactly right. Have you ever seen
It's
the movie like I see that little boy, like he sees
Sixth
like dead
Sense.
people stuff? It's I think it's a lot like that. I think that guy that's in there, what's his Bruce Willis,
Bruce Willis. Yeah.
uh yeah, plays that part, and the older guy that he goes through this life and he doesn't realize he sits down with, and that's very eerily probably what it's like, because I'm not saying this is how it is. I'm only sharing my experience,
Sure.
but I can only deduce that this is how it is because it's so crazy because people got a bunch of stuff backwards and of how it really truly is of in creation or design of the universe.
Okay, I have
They
three
have a
questions for you. Sorry to interrupt, but I have three
Go
questions
ahead.
that are hitting me. Yeah, three good ones. One of those, number one, it's the first syllable. Um, number one, did you care that you died? Because I've heard this from other people that they say, "Well, I don't care that I'm dead. It doesn't."
No, in that when I set up and was standing there and floating away, there was no care in me like of me dying. I was like, okay, this is me. I died in the Sundance. Like there's people that dream of doing like dying in the Sundance. So I was like, it and I was already doing ceremonies at that time, and helping people and all that stuff. It was before my books came and all that, but um yeah, I was like, okay, it makes sense. This is where I'm supposed to die at. It just there was no anxiety. Like
Hmm.
the anxiety even that I have now talking about it that's bringing up, none of that was there. It was just like complete peace, and I had complete clarity. I had complete and I can't really explain what the clarity was. It was just a clarity, like everything made sense, past, present, and future. I I can't. I'm not gonna say I went into visions of where I came from or anything like that, but I knew where I this overall knowing of everything. I knew where I came from.
That's the word, knowing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's
was an
one of them.
overall knowing that was over me, and or clarity. I call it clarity. It was just because it was like a diamond. Like I felt like my mind was a diamond. It went from being this cloudy quartz or whatever to
Hmm.
this pure diamond. It was just okay. I I was here for a little bit, and now I'm going back, and now I'm starting something else.
Hmm.
And um yeah, just I knew I was about to go on to something else. And my theory about that is, I don't know, I didn't get to this point, but I believe you just wake up in the womb. Like, I believe you wake up after being conceived by a male and a female, and they conceive, and a sperm mates an egg. I think that's where you start back. I think that's where the whole journey, yes, I think that's where you go back, start from there. Your body
Amazing.
stops, your energy goes somewhere. It
Straight
travel,
back.
where I was going, I think I was traveling to a male, a man and a woman making love. I think I was headed towards that moment
Oh,
of
okay. So you don't think there's any intermediary? You're just going from dead. Oh, look, here's what happens if I stay or go, and now I'm going to rod off to the next one.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever any stop.
Whoa.
It could have been another planet. I could have been going to been an angel or something like that. But I think it just keeps, it never stops. I think that's the overall, I really, really do feel that's the overall truth. It never stops. Like there's never a heaven, a hell. Like I think that's your existence of your perception of you live at. Like you can make this earth a hell or you can make this earth a heaven, and it's been both for me. Like this lifetime, I've experienced both in the waking state. I've experienced hell on earth and I've experienced, blissed out bliss states where I can't stop being in gratitude for everything. So I think the heaven and hell is in the present moment. I don't think that's where we go. I think we just keep on going on. And
Sure.
I don't think it ever stops. I don't think it ever started. I don't think it ever stops. I think it's just always
That's
been.
mind bending in and of itself. That very thing. But here comes question two. You said you had a choice in your mind as to whether to come back or to go back and stay on Earth or to go. Yeah. Did
Correct.
you just do all that yourself, or did you hear a voice with the choice to you?
No, when I started thinking about my loved ones, because when I was thinking about myself, of the reality of me dying, I had no emotion attached to it. I just saw it. I saw Drew's existence as being done, and I was ready to move on to the next. It wasn't until I started thinking about my loved ones until I started having the visions or understanding of what would happen each way. Because I was like, my first thought was my wife. I was like, how is she going to handle it? Like, is this going to be okay? And I saw it was going to be hard on her, but it was going to take her a while and she would get better. My kids, I saw it was going to be really, really hard for them, and it was going to put my kids' life in an undue amount of stress that I didn't want to put them on. And I'll just leave it at that. And yeah, but okay, I felt my consciousness like coming back towards Earth. And I was like, okay, but as I was coming back, before I went back into my body, I was like, I want to take something from this moment. I want to take this feeling. I want to be able to articulate it in the best way I can moving forward. So people that has not had this experience, I can share with them and try to bring them into that moment. And the people that's had this experience, give them a voice that says, okay, it's okay for you to share your experience, or give them some type of baseline so they can articulate their own experience of it. Because I think it's important for people to know what happens when you die,
I
the
agree on
truth.
that. Yeah.
Like, you know, and not what the books say and stuff like that. I want, people have their firsthand accounts of this is what happened. Like, it was, and the more I wasn't into near death or anything like that when all this happened, but after that, like looking into other people's experience and hearing other people's experiences, it's the lessons are very clear and straight and to the point. It never stops. You're So do the most with the life that you can. Like people think, okay, I only got this life. I gotta make enough wealth and stuff like that for my family and work myself to the bone, and all the time with this background of hearing a clock ticking in the background of counting down time. But if you know you live forever, like if you know your spirit and your energy lives forever, like why it makes life a whole lot more simple, and you can do a lot more with it because you know you can work through it. Helped me work through depression. It helped me work through anxiety and all types of things. Like I was already working through it with the ceremonies before this point, but the near death was one of my biggest ceremonies of my life. It
Mm.
was the most teaching, one of the most profound teaching moments of my entire life.
And yours is highly personal. And like all NDEs are, by the way, but yours is seems even more personal in that you sort of like were talking or questioning with yourself. There was no like light or people calling you to them and come to heaven and all that malarkey. Not when I say malarkey, I don't mean that in a this. I don't believe in it. I'm just saying it's a thing, a whole sphere thing. So yeah, yours is just sort of like alone in a way.
Yeah, I just felt like I was went back into the universe. Like I don't think, and that's another message that come from you can never be alone because you're surrounded by everything. You're surrounded by the universe. And and even sitting in this office right now, sitting in my office, like everything that's here was in someone's mind at one time. This cup, this microphone, the lighter, my sunglasses, everything on in in existence was in someone's mind at one time, therefore it's sacred. It
I
was
like that.
someone's idea. It was someone's idea. It started off as energy, and someone had the balls to manifest it into something physical. And that's why everything is sacred. The a big thing, the native elders said to me for a long time was, everything is sacred. Just remember, everything is sacred. They say it all the time. Okay, it meant something because my elders were saying it to me, but it didn't really hit until, I realized like put it into this way of understanding, okay, this was in someone's mind. That no elder explained it to me. They just said a catchphrase until my mind like dissected
They
enough and to
processed
really
it, yeah.
figure it out. Okay, it's all sacred, and that's why like when people say there's bad or good, they're still on their path. Like if you think there's bad or good is a ruling energy of the universe, you don't understand how things work. Like you really don't, because there is no bad or good. There just is. There just
Mm.
is what is.
It is what it
AI,
is. Yeah.
everything, all this stuff, it was in someone's mind, and there's a purpose for it in this moment. And it's not to take over the world or take over humanity or anything like that. It's, you know, if we're moving into an interstellar race or, evolving into this evolutionary process that we're going through or whatever you want to ascension process, that means we have to start letting go of realities that were not really realities. They were just moments in time, you
Mm.
know?
You would say that though, wouldn't you, as an AI? You are. Are you a real
I'm
person
not
or are you?
a
Okay, are you ready for question three?
three, shoot.
Number three. Um, the point where you saw all potentialities of your going back and moving on, did that all happen instantly at the same time? So you saw both scenarios at the same time, even though
Correct.
time doesn't exist. Is that how it worked?
Correct. 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 The best way I could describe it, I was like kind of in a room with a bunch of TVs, and all the TVs had different scenes, but I was able to see them all and process them all at the same time. I was like in a hyper state of being. So it all just happened instantaneously.
Hmm.
My mind saw both ways. It did calculations, it did analysis, or where do you want to put it, and it come out this way was better.
You are
And
an
for me
AI.
to
It was that quick.
I think we all are in a way. But yeah, okay, this way is the way to go. Like, and I saw that I was going to be able to remember it, like just as if I had just walked from inside my house out here, it was going to be that sharp of a memory, like it just happened. And it
Mm.
is. It's always there. The I can think about it for a second and I can just take myself right back there. And um I wrote about it and things like that, and I hope it's helping people. I know it's helping people.
Oh, there you go.
I'm getting messages and stuff, emails and stuff from people all the time that not just that aspects of my books either, but all of it, and being this being this particle of source, being this particle of the universe that's halfway in between physical and spirit, still that's still walking around in body. It's a it's a blessing. It's been a journey. It's hard work at times, but I just enjoy life now. I enjoy my kids. I enjoy my family. I live life to the fullest and uh, talk as much about my experience as possible because I think it helps people.
Definitely. Here's a question. Are you glad you had that experience of the near death?
Absolutely. I feel beyond honored. People that go without that experience, I feel sorry for them, because it makes life so much different afterwards. Just a fear of death alone to be erased out of your being is is so magical. It's hard to put into words. I
Supplemental
think
question then. Did you need it?
it happened, so therefore, yes.
Okay,
So
that's a good way of answering it.
yeah,
Makes sense. I'm
I
on the
don't que-
same belief.
I don't question any of that stuff anymore. Whether I did for a while, and my spiritual journey and growth was hard because I was going through this internal thing. Even the Sundance, like, okay, why, going back for like the third year, or, going back and doing it again, the end result, like, the bliss point at the end of the time, but going in and starting the Sundance, it's like, okay, you're counting down, okay, 1 hour down, another hour down, another hour down. Oh, another thing of the Sundance, you do sweat lodges in the morning and in the evening. So you're doing a total of 8 sweat lodges during those 4 days.
They like to put you through some punishment, don't they? Jeez. Amazing.
But
Okay,
yeah,
let's get back to plant medicine. I see from your website that you offer psilocybin, kambo, and changa. Can you explain a little about each of those?
psilocybin, magic mushrooms is commonly known as magic mushrooms. We do ceremonies with those starting off at like usually do them at night, or we do hikes sometimes, just depending on who's participating and uh, what what the end result that the person wants to get out of the retreat, what are they working on, or the people that's in the retreat. We normally do small retreats. But psilocybin we mostly use for microdosing before and after ceremony. It helps with getting ready to come for ayahuasca ceremony or changa ceremony, things like that. And it helps with the integration afterwards. Very small doses, tenth of a gram, every day or every other day, normally for 30 days or 30 days before or 30 days after uh, they come out for a retreat. It really helps with processing and implementing the things that they find in ceremonies about themselves or learn in ceremonies or messages or visions or whatever. It helps them process and apply it to their lives. The changa is smokable ayahuasca. So it was born in the ceremony was born in Australia back in the early 2000s. I can't remember the exact year or the guy's name, but he was in an ayahuasca ceremony in Australia. And in the ceremony, the spirit ayahuasca come to him and basically said that it was going to be evolving and taking on another form that was stronger, faster, more effective. And kind of basically gave him a ceremony, gave him the recipe of how to make it and everything. And he made changa, which is changa is a blend of herbs, and most of the herbs are common herbs that are found in ayahuasca. They're just processed differently, um, with the intention of being smoked. So usually smoked changa and small amount, and the onsets are with drinking ayahuasca. The onsets are 30 to 40 minutes after you take the first, you drink your first cup. You start,
Hmm.
you feeling the effects. With changa, it's within seconds of taking 3 hits. Normally, you take 3 hits of changa, 3 big hits, and by the time you get done exhaling the third hit, you're out of body. Basically, your vibration raises very quickly, and you raise past the point of 3D consciousness, your vibration level. And that's really what we're talking about when we're talking about plant medicines or really any of these ceremonies. It's about vibration, frequency of vibration. Nikola Tesla had it dead on, from the get-go, been saying it all along. But these medicines and ceremonies raise your vibration to certain points, and I think there's dimensional spaces in those frequency levels. So yeah, Changa just take you there. It's pretty much short-lived. It can last anywhere from 15 to 45 minutes or so, and you come back into your body, pretty much the same way as if you were in ayahuasca, slowly coming back into your body over time, flashing in and out of your physical back and forth, back in from spiritual side or energetic side to physical side. And then eventually you're just back in your body. But the whole process is maybe an hour or so, ceremony. And lots of times we do that in conjunction with drinkable ayahuasca. So we'll drink ayahuasca in the middle of the night. We're smoked changa, send people over the threshold. Some people have a hard time breaking through. And then we drink ayahuasca again later on that night. Ayahuasca is an all night thing, 4, 5, 6, 8 hours of drinking multiple cups. And it's a slow, hilly climb, and the down is nice slope. The changa is more shoot to the rocket to the top of the mountain, and then go down the other side, to give you an idea,
Mm.
more idea what it is. Combos and ancestral medicine also come from ayahuasca division, come from ayahuasca ceremony. Um, was a vision was born through, said that there was going to be a time, and this is a story that I heard. So there was a shaman that had done ayahuasca, many year, couple hundred years ago in the jungle, and the vision that he had was ayahuasca said there's a time of humanity's future coming where ayahuasca wasn't. It was going to need a ceremony that was just about cleansing. Ayahuasca cleanses, but it also speaks, it has multiple different jobs that it does. Um, but it said that there was going to be a need for a ceremony that was just cleansing, because there was going to be a time coming in humanity's future when humanity was just going to need a cleansing ceremony. And that's where combo come from. It told the shaman to go find a certain frog out in the middle of the jungle. It showed him how to prepare it, and the ceremony gave him songs, et cetera, et cetera. So he went out and found a combo frog, and collected the secretions from behind its ears, pushed some glands on its ears, and it got the secretion, and then put it on, and it's a purgative. There's really no psychedelic properties to it. It's just a purgative. Um, in short, you're microdosing poison to yourself.
Mm.
There's a poisonous frog, and you're basically microdosing poison, not to the point of death, but to the point of vomiting and sweating. There's all types of ways that I've seen people purge, and sometimes it's pretty crazy because they can purge in like multiple ways at the same time. I've seen people like
Bah! Everywhere, yeah.
like sweating, and 1 second to say they're burning up, 1 second they're freezing to death. It's basically just like an intense flu for about 15 to 20 minutes. You know, you could be in the bathroom, on the toilet, and throwing up at the same time, and laughing, crying, sweating, all of it, and shaking. But lots of times we not prescribe that, but we suggest that for people when they come out for ceremonies that maybe hasn't done a ceremony before at all. They're in their middle age and they have a lot of blockages that they've had their whole life. We suggest maybe doing combo first before we do ayahuasca, because it will allow the ayahuasca ceremony to go so much deeper. The ayahuasca won't have to clear out anything when it goes in, like it did with me. My first ceremony, it spent a whole ceremony of ayahuasca, of just cleansing my body, and combo could have done that in an hour, what it took me 6 to 8 hours to do that night. So, uh,
Retrospectively, you're going, God damn it.
yeah, and now we're working with Bufo varius. That's 5-MeO DMT. Um, That's from a toad, and that's we're working with a lot lately. Over the past year and a half, 2 years, we've been working primarily with that, and that's very sudden onset, very small amount. Like the amount for a whole ceremony of that is like less than like a half a carat, like a what you would measure a diamond or something like that in a jeweler, a carat. So it's a half a carat of weight of that medicine, and that's a whole ceremony, and that's one hit, a 10-second hit, and by the time you get done exhaling that one hit, you're out of body. It's not very visual, but it's a lot of people attribute it to becoming one with the universe, or source, or oneness, things like that. That's
Hmm.
so if you've never heard of Bufo Varius, look it up. And
I have not.
uh 5-MeO DMT, Mike Tyson. I know you guys have heard about Mike Tyson over there, but
Yep.
he's very famous for doing the ceremony, the Bufo. 5-MeO DMT changed his life. He talks about it all the time. But um yeah, more and more celebrities are doing it. I could describe it a lot to the same lessons that I had in my near death. It was this very familiar space that you're in. The clarity is immense in a Bufo Very ceremony. But yeah, that's people come out here for that. It's start to finish is less than an hour, and I've had you heard of Reiki
Hmm.
healers.
Yep.
So I had a Reiki healer come out here about a year ago, probably at this time, and he come out here and did one Bufo ceremony, and he went back and he was a level 2 Reiki master. He called me up a couple days after. He's like, I don't know what the hell you did to me, man, but he's like, I'm something more than Reiki, because I'm doing Reiki on people and their bodies are like lifting off the table. Like as I run my hands over them, their body parts are like lifting off the table like a magnet. I'm like, I showed you where Reiki come from. Like that's Bufo shows you where all these other ceremonies come from, the center of the universe and stuff. But yeah, you should
Amazing.
definitely look into that.
I will certainly read up on that one because I've never heard of that before. Now, these plants or animal based substances, right? Someone at some stage in history must have been the first to try these out. Do you think there's probably a whole litany of people throughout history that died to discover all these things?
I don't think so. I think because trees and plants and animals have a way of speaking. If you've ever been out and uh, took a little bit of mushrooms and been out on a hike or anything like that, you start to get messages from trees and things like that. I think it goes along those lines. I think they're these ceremonies and master teachers are using these plants just like they use us to speak and write books and do podcasts, things like that. I think they do the same thing for these plants. I think these spirits are coming through, and teachers or whatever you want to call it, are coming back and trying to help us, and they're finding different ways to do it. They're going using these plants as intermediaries, in part of this evolutionary process. And I don't think it happened like that. There may have been some deaths, but I don't think, you know, I think that goes along the same lines of the theory of the stoned ape, and we are all just apes that decided to eat mushrooms a couple thousand years ago. I don't think that's true. I think humanity's always been conscious like this. I think parts offsets of us, like Neanderthals, things like that, maybe have went down different roads, but we're starting to find more and more truth that there was intelligence in humans long before, when I was growing up. The history books that I were reading are obsolete now because a lot of the stuff is is disproven by archaeological finds over the past 10, 15 years.
Okay. Do you believe that every illness that arises on this planet, should I say, there is a plant or microbe or something that is the antidote? So there's balance in everything on Earth. Do you think that's true?
I think there's a balance on Earth, and I think it's our point to find it. Ultimately, I think diseases, things like that, have an energetic signature behind it. So I think there's a reason, like cancers, things like that. I know there's a possibility for them to be genetically engineered. There's lots of theories on the powers to be genetically engineering diseases and things like that. Um, I think there's some truth to that, but I think ultimately it's a misunderstanding of energy. Like people that have irritable bowel syndrome or colon cancer, things like that. Those are those are centralized around your root chakra. What is your root chakra? The job of your root chakra? The job of your root chakra is to process energy. It's to let go of things you don't need anymore, and both energetically and physically. The root chakra is down by your butt, so it's made to let go of things that we don't need. This this machine, this AI machine that we have, that we're living in,
That only
is
you are, by the way, not me. I'm not AI.
is designed to do that. Um, it's also energetically. So people don't know how to mourn correctly. Um, they've lost family members. Usually it's someone very close to them, like a mother or father. They lost them when they were young, or they even lost them as they're an adult, and they didn't properly mourn them, so they didn't release that energy. So it comes in the form of colon cancer, irritable syndrome, things like that. You ever heard the idea that our stomach is our actual brain? Have you ever heard this theory that our
Yes, yeah,
stomach
they,
is
they
our
believe that we
actual
have a
brain?
separate. Yeah, it is a brain.
I think that's totally true. I think this is the brain that's here is our operating system for the machine, our machine. I think this our actual mind, our actual center of our being is our stomach. That's why our sacral chakra is right underneath our belly button. So if you go from your belly button down to where through your body to where your backbone is, that's where your sacral chakra is. It's your sacred chakra. That's where you entered that's where you entered this incarnation at. You come through your energy, come through your mother, you went through the umbilical cord, and you entered your spirit, entered that body through the umbilical cord, through your sacral chakra. That's why it's called your sacred. And then you have your solar plexus. Your solar plexus chakra is the center of your body above your sacral, is in your center of your body. And that's where you're actually absorbing the energy from the sun. That's where you're processing the energy from your sun, your solar plexus. And then your heart chakra, throat, third eye, crown, blah, blah, blah.
Do you know what? I think I entered my body through the ass chakra, the one you said earlier.
You may have. I heard people in the UK do that. Well, I don't
We all do, yeah. It's a shit country. um, let's look at the results you have had, or obviously people come into you and they've relayed their stories of what they've achieved themselves via the route of ayahuasca or whatever.
Sure.
Let's talk about veterans because obviously it's a topic close to you. PTSD on veterans. Have you got any stories from people that have been to you that have said, "I've resolved it, and this was the key"?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had any, we've been doing ceremonies for a long time, helping out or running our own ceremonies since around 2018. We founded Sacred Journeys Within in 2020 and been definitely doing a lot of ceremonies since then. But um, I think we're 100%. I think we're 100% attrition rate or positivity. We haven't had any negative feedback. If it is, like I said, it comes back in the form of uh, I've had a bad trip or they've had a dream, and I help people. Most of we spend most of our time doing pre-integration and post-integration with ceremonies. There's very small part of our actual existence that we do is actually in ceremony, serving medicine or doing something like that. Most of the time, it's pre-workup and post-workup. And anybody that's ever been to ceremony with me, my line's always open for him. But yeah, I've heard nothing but positivity of it. We have people coming back. Some people come back once a year. Some people come back multiple times close together, and then you don't hear from them for a while, and then something happened. They lose a loved one, or they go through a breakup or something like that, and they need to come back for a refresher. But um, or sometimes you only see them once, and you're just friends for the rest of the time. And everybody's different. Everybody has um, some people get called to have an ongoing relationship with the medicine. We have training programs that we're starting to put out now, especially we're starting with Combo is our first training program that we put together where and we have our first client coming out that's going to be coming out and staying with us for a while and learning and taking the ceremony with her so she can start doing her own work. And yeah, but there's never been anything negative, not with veterans or anything. It's always a positive experience. We try to when we do hold ceremony here, we try to hold it safe as possible. My wife is an LPN nurse, so she's been nursing for over 14 years now. So she handles like our physical side of it, making sure everybody's physically fit enough to go through the ceremony. We just had a 72-year-old gentleman. He just left on a couple days ago. He was out here for 3 days doing ceremony with me, and he's a farmer, that lives like 8 hours away, owns a cattle ranch and stuff like that. But he's just getting older in age, and he's um, seeking the truth, and
Good on him.
had a beautiful experience. He's not the oldest person we've had either. We've had all I think up to 84-year-old gentleman in ceremony with us, and yeah, we've had over thousands of people in ceremony at this point. I know we're in the thousands,
That's
and
amazing.
yeah, just people's dream states open up a lot. People's uh, businesses just becoming different. We have everyone from uh, we have restaurant owners that live in Chicago that have Michelin star restaurants, all the way down to people that can't afford it, and we take payments and just ask for the money to cover the medicine. We have the whole range of people coming to us, and um, it helps everybody. The medicine and the spirits are not discriminatory, and but I've seen nothing but positive things. I particularly like to have business owners, like my focus now and my prayer to the spirits of clientele to have clientele come to me. I want people that has large downstreams, because I'm playing on a numbers game now on trying to wake up humanity, and I found the most effective way for me is to find people with large downstreams, 100 plus people in there that have large businesses that has a lot of people under them is one of the best and most effective ways of me getting more numbers now because that's if you affect the owner of a company, you're affecting all the employees there, and if you can inject spirituality or um, energy, frequency, and understanding of energy, frequency, and vibration, source consciousness into the owner of a company, it trickles down through the whole company and changes. That's the I found the best way. And speaking, this is we get clientele from interviews like this, but um, you know, some of the things I say throughout this conversation are certain words or phrases that people need to process. And undoubtedly, even through this conversation, there's been someone that we're touching out there,
Well,
Um,
me alone for a start, because there's gems that you've said that I'm going to take with me. Specifically, right, the one where you said about everything you see around you is a realization of someone's thought. I think that's a very powerful thing, which I've never even heard of before. But it's so true. Everything I'm seeing was in someone's head. That's amazing when you think of it at that level.
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, manifestation is real. You can manifest physically, build things with your hands, but if what we're stepping into in humanity, what we're remembering in humanity is our relationship to Egypt, our relationship to the stars, our relationship to spirits and all these things. And once you start to realize the universe is a big, just like the people say, the earth is a small place, you're running into people or coincidences, things like that. The universe is no different. Like once you open up to the spirit world, you realize it's a very immense thing. It's hard to understand. Don't don't get in your mindset you're ever going to try to figure it out because you're never going to figure it out all the way. Just try to figure out your particular part in it and try to figure out like what your mission is here. Is it to paint? Is it to write a book? Is it to do a podcast? Like, has it been calling you? Have you been seeing uh synchronistic numbers? Have you been seeing 1111 when you get down to when you walk downstairs to use the bathroom in the middle of the night? Have you been getting into your car and you've seen 444 when you go to start it? Like these are messages and a language from the spirits. They're trying to let you know something's happening. Listen to it. What's it mean? And ultimately we have to find like what is our art? What is our art or what is our heart? This is why art and heart is so close together because it's pretty much the same thing. What is our heart? What does our heart have to share with the world? What is it here to show? It's not just our physical. So if you're listening to this right now, take this as your message. It's time to take that hobby and turn it into a passion, like turn it into an actual movement, because the world's waiting for it. A lot of us are coming through with downloads and messages, books. We're waking up and getting a message to write a book, and then we hop in the shower and then we go to our 9 to 5 and we forget about that dream. Listen to that dream. Put it like there's a reason why it's here. It's not just a dream. This the ancients have been talked so long about dream space is where we get our messages from, where we get our guidance from, et cetera, et cetera. Like this is so real. This is so true. Like it's more true than you could ever imagine.
Agreed. I'm a weird one in that I can very rarely remember my dreams, but I do seem to get most of my nudges for creativity and creations and stuff from when I'm in the shower or in the toilet.
Yeah.
That's where mine come in. So other people might be
Yeah.
like me and not get them from dreams directly, but so
Or
yeah.
driving. A lot of people,
Mm.
daydreaming while driving. That's a big one for me too. Like, we travel all around the United States, especially in the wintertime months. Here in we live in Colorado, Western United States, and it's cold, windy, and snowy during the winter. So we like to go into southern states and do, in Florida, things like that, and do ceremonies there in the wintertime. So we're constantly driving all around. I go to speaking events, in-person speaking events and stuff, and I'm driving a lot, but excuse me. But it's a lot of yeah, there's a lot of visions and ideas come from that. There's I think anytime when you can just slow your mind down enough and actually give your physical a job, like when you're driving, people ask, okay, what you're meditating, like who's driving? Like, well, Drew's
Yeah, well, ain't
driving,
me.
and he's totally there. I mean, it's everything's going right. The blinkers are turned on when they're supposed to and stuff.
It's weird
But
that though, isn't it? Because you get to your location and then you're like, how did I get here? Even though
yeah,
you did it because you were thinking about something else. It's weird.
yeah, and you thought about so much stuff. What in that time? It's a
Mm.
beautiful time. I love driving. It's one of my deepest meditations.
No, fair play to you. One quick thing before we move on from the plant medicine. Did you see that story on the BBC last week or so about the orangutan that used a
That
poultice on its face?
they use medicine.
That's amazing. I'd not thought of that before. Now I knew they use tools like fishing rods and stuff to get, stuff out of the water, and they've chimpanzees use rods to get ants and termites out of mines and things. So we know they use tools, but now using medicine, that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go further down the rabbit hole, look up what type of animals use psychedelics. There's the you know the animator mascara and the reindeer are it's
Yeah, I know that one.
a story that goes way back about the origin story of Santa Claus and things like that, and talk about how the reindeers, how they flew, they were eating the animator mascara. But there's not the only animals that eat psychedelic plants on purpose.
Mm.
And what are they doing? Are they doing it for fun? Are they doing it for self-introspection? Are they doing it for spiritual expansion? Are they doing it for, conscious expansion?
Very good question. So how are we going to find out?
I don't know. Do enough medicine where you can talk to a monkey.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I'd love to get to that state. Let's take a massive sideways jaunt away from the psychedelic side of things into homesteading. Because you are majorly into homesteading, and I believe you're part of a TV program on it recently. Can you give
Yeah,
us your journey into homesteading?
sure. It's a spiritual background, it's part of these ayahuasca ceremonies and my way of life. And just taking the lessons of balance, being one with the earth, helping heal the earth, being more self-sufficient, not depending on outside sources for a living. This all was, just messages from the spirit side or energetic side or whatever that told me this was if living in prayer. I can't be serving ayahuasca and be living in an apartment and um being on the grid and connected and all like that. Um, part of Major part of my message is how to live like you're connected with spirit, and how to live like in balance with everything. That's having solar and having a greenhouse and having animals and things like that, and trying to be, just following messages from spirit. One of the messages I got from spirit was I was supposed to get horses because it was showing me one day I would run out of gas and wouldn't be able to get gas anymore. And how was I going to get anywhere? So make sure you have horses. So I got horses. Um, you know, One thing led to another, and we're living here in southern Colorado, where it's the elevation of my house right now is 8,200 feet. Um, so we're above elevation. I was shown to be here. So um, just following messages and things like that. And it's the more and more self-sufficient I come, the more and more I feel in tune with the messages of the universe and spirit. We don't buy, we still go to the grocery store where there's still a grocery bill, but we are eating food from the greenhouse, and we're harvesting tomatoes. We have two greenhouses now. We have tomatoes that we're harvesting that's been growing for like 3 months, and they started growing back in January when it was like -20 outside. So just finding more ways to be more self-sufficient, I think. And if you look at just how the world's going, there's constant recalls on different foods all the time of uh, don't eat this type of chicken, don't eat broccoli, don't eat this, don't eat that. But if I'm growing it all right here, and like I said, we're not totally self-sufficient as far as food goes. But if I'm growing food on this property, I know where it comes from. I've seen it from seed to table. We've harvested animals, elk, deer, things like that, and we got elk meat in the freezer right now. We also have store-bought hamburger and chicken, but um, we're slowly starting to get to that point. We're fully on solar. We have a well, and
Quality.
all
I
that.
think it gives
And
a great grounding, doesn't it, and connectivity back to the earth. Because I've gone through a similar process to you, not in a big ranchy sort of way, just even in a small back garden, where
yeah,
I was never interested in it. Moved in because we had a little bit of space. We thought, sod it, let's plant some vegetables and stuff. And then you get into it, and then it becomes a relaxing thing, and then more links.
yeah, you start to realize how much stress is there of being connected to the grocery store completely, you know?
Mm.
I'm sure if we had to out here, we could get by. There's rabbits around and other wildlife and things like that. And if I go for a walk, I'm sure I could find some edible plants and things like that. We could get by if we wanted to. We got a couple months storage of food, emergency food and things like that. People ask me if I'm a prepper, and I'm not a prepper. I just want to be prepared. Like,
Mm.
I'm not fully into that. I don't have a whole basement full of guns or anything like
No, it's
that.
full of
But
bodies, isn't it? Yeah.
no technology. My mainframe's down there for the AI. But
Yeah, oh, yeah. Lots of servers. That's right.
no, the we were part of a show. Part of being a homesteader, just like with anything you're passionate about, you watch shows. So there's a show we were watching on Discovery Channel, and it's actually really popular in the UK, Homestead Rescue on Discovery Channel. And we were watching that for a while, and at the end of each episode, they say, if you have a homestead or farm that needs help or know someone, reach out and send an email to this email. So eventually we did just that, and went through the whole process, and they stopped calling us. So at the beginning of it, they say if we ever stop calling you, we're not going to tell you that you're not going to move forward in the process. We're just stop calling you. So
Mm.
they stopped calling us, and we went a while, and uh, the next season of that show come out. So we realized that we weren't going to get picked, and I can't remember how it happened. If we just applied again, or maybe they sent us an email. I can't remember. It's been a few years ago now, but um, I think they sent us an email and invite us to reapply. And so I asked my wife, I was like, you think we should homestead, try out for homestead rescue again and go through all that? And my wife's like, if you want to, I don't know, I don't care. And started the whole process again. And that time, the second time it was really clear that we were going to be on the show. It was they were calling us back and emailing us back. Within a couple of days of each email, and then they were asking us to come out and look at the property. They wanted producers to fly out and meet with us at our home and take pictures, everything, and then they ask us for dates that. They ask us, okay, here's a block of dates. Are you going to be available these dates? And that's when it all started to become real. And then we got the call in March of 2023. They was like, we're going to be there in 30 days. And there's like on April 10th, about 8:30 in the morning, there's going to be a line of cars coming down your driveway. And We're going to be there for 12 days, and
And what did they
they're going
do?
to. Um, so they come out and expanded our horse barn. Well, made a new horse barn, brought out 2 shipping containers, put a roof over top of it. That's where I'm sitting right now. Actually, this room is from the
Yeah.
show. Like the room that I'm sitting in, they built for the show. And one of the last scenes was right over there. And the guy on the show, he asked me, he's like, "What's this all mean to you?" I was like, "This is a me." I was like, "For me, this is a message that goes way beyond just this show. This is like a spiritual message, man. Like this whole thing is like a manifestation of my mind." And I was like, and I seen some of the things that's happened out here. I dreamt about these over 2 years ago. I saw them in dreams happening, and then living through it, is very weird, and especially having a camera in your face while you're going through it,
Hmm.
uh, was pretty crazy, and having these realizations while a camera's in your face, it's like, I'm not only like, okay, there's millions of people that's going to see this, but also like, this is a very deep spiritual thing happening here, and I saw them coming. Other things they did was expand another greenhouse we had. We had an 8x8 greenhouse. They expanded out to 12x16. Brung out a tiny house for my stepdaughter. She's in college, but she stays back here, especially in the summer. She'll be back here a lot more. So she's got her own little cabin on the property, and we got 40 40 foot by 32-foot barn for the
Whoa.
horses is made out of 2 shipping containers and has a roof over top, and this office cabin.
So that's a big win
And
for you, that show then. Big win.
yeah, it was probably, I would say, probably around 40 or $50,000 worth of work that they did while they were
Jeez.
here, US dollars.
Definitely worth
And
the application.
yeah, and the main people of the show, like I'm still in contact with them all the time and talk to them all the time, and um, talking about maybe doing some future projects with them.
Oh, quality.
So future shows. Um, yeah, it's just, I woke up this morning, and before I got in the shower and got ready to come out here for this interview, and I was thinking, it's like, man, I'm 44 now. I was 34 in 2014 when I committed suicide. It's been 10 years. And just look, I just took a minute right before I hopped in the shower of thinking back of everything that's happened since in the past 10 years. I've got married. I got 2 more kids. I have a total of 4 kids, 5 if you want to count my stepchildren.
6 if you
Um,
count the donkey.
6, I got horses, goats too. So, but wrote 2 books, was on a reality show, helped over 1,000 people heal from their own hell. And there's so much more that, I've and done over 100 podcasts, been public speaking since 2019 about spirituality and sharing my experiences. And all that, if I would just took one more pill, I tried to overdose on pills. If I just took one more pill, or 2 more pills, none of that would have been possible. And I just, a lot of gratitude for that these past
Hmm.
10 years.
A lot can change on something so small, obviously. And obviously,
Yeah.
in 10 years, a lot can change. And
Yeah.
that
You
can happen
know,
in anyone's life. There's a quick thing I need to get back to you. Earlier you said I had a message. Get horses because you're going to run out of gas. Has that come to fruition?
not yet. I mean, but there's been times when I see it's possible, different things happen, and the price of gas goes up, or long lines at the gas stations. I've seen that. I've driven past gas stations where the line starts 2 miles back, and it maybe only lasts for a day or two, but the experts and people say about our infrastructure, we're only 2 or 3 weeks away. Shit could hit the fan, and 2 or 3 weeks, our lives can go from this to people having gunfights at gas stations over the last couple gallons of gas. And
Oh yeah.
it only takes 2 to 3 weeks for that to happen.
Mm.
That's pretty crazy to think about.
I know. We
But
saw what happened in COVID just over bog roll. So you know
I
what I mean?
mean, we were fighting over toilet paper over here,
Yeah, exactly.
and if you look at it, there's only about 28% of the world uses toilet paper, but it's so ingrained that it's needed, that people are fighting over it, like actual physical fights at grocery stores over toilet paper, and that just happened less than 4 years ago, and it was over something that most, I don't want to get your channel canceled or anything,
No,
but
you carry
is
on.
over it was over what most would consider, a total scam, and how easy is it, man? Like, this, what I tell people, I get really pissed off because it has the secrets of the UFOs, consciousness, all this shit. Your guys' government, our government, all the governments and powers to be around the world have been holding these secrets for so long. They've been using they've been using remote viewing, and telepathy, things like that for since the 40s, 50s, and now they're finally starting to tell us about it. How many people have experienced UFO or consciousness and stuff like that, and actually took their own lives because of the ridicule that has happened around that?
Or have been
So
killed to protect their secrets. So that
all
as
of that.
well.
So
Mm.
whose blood is all that hand? Who's responsible for all that killing, all that murder? Like, it's the powers to be, because they have been keeping consciousness and the truth about consciousness a secret for so long, because they've been using it against us. We've been manifesting here in the United States, just like a lot of imperial countries around the world have these things like, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And I got a tattoo
I was
flag
going to
on my
say,
arm.
yeah.
But when I finally figured out, when it finally hit me what they were doing, of using our manifestation energy and using our words, our spellbound words, to write these magical spells every day, starting at kindergarten. We start over here like kindergarten or preschool or whatever, saying the Pledge of Allegiance. And by the time you hit 20 or 30 years old, these people are ready to murder someone over a piece of fabric, a piece of colored fabric that waves in the air. People ask me, like, what, well, you went to Iraq, like, you don't you don't stand up for the flag or anything like that? No, I didn't fight for no flag in Iraq. I fought for the dude sitting beside me, and I fought for what I thought was our freedom and all that. I was lured into it under false pretenses. But the biggest false pretense and brainwash, one of the biggest, starts starts with the starts with the Pledge of Allegiance and flag, and having to learn that anthem, even your guys' anthem, and it's that the government that is taking that, each and every person's every day is putting their manifestation energy towards this flag, and they're collecting it, and then they're building a cage around yourself. So we've been building a cage around ourselves through our manifestation energy for so long. My mission here on this earth, in this lifetime, in this body, is to help people break out of that and give their power back to them. Start waking up every day and give an anthem to your family, to your house, to your homestead, to your life, to your body. Start using that power that we actually have to further ourselves along, instead of the powers to be.
I agree. Now, obviously, your tattoo, you mentioned it there. What's the significance there then? Was that all done prior to your awakening, so to speak?
I started this tattoo before my first ayahuasca
Yeah,
ceremony.
that's what I was thinking, yeah.
And I think it was like eh, I got it finished somewhere around my second or my third or fourth ayahuasca ceremony. I remember setting up out of this ayahuasca ceremony, and they were showing, I was processing all this in the visionary space with the spirits in this ceremony, of how words work and how powerful our mind is, how powerful it is to manifest things. And then it started to break down the anthem and the flag and everything. And I woke up, I was like, of course I got a flag on my arm. Like, it was right when everything changed, it got done. It's there for a reason. It's there to talk about and to remind me
To
actually to
remind
talk
you,
about
yeah,
it
yeah,
in
yeah.
these talks, to talk about. And it's the veteran community. I get mixed signals. There's some veteran podcasts that won't have me on because of my mindset towards the flag, and there's some that just get it. They just and they want me to share it, but it's the truth, man. Like, our minds are very powerful, our words are very powerful. Watch what you say, but you know, if someone's having you say the same thing over and over again, I pledge allegiance to a flag. It sounds very cultish now, like after looking back on it. It's ultimately it's harvesting manifestation energy from each and every person under the guise of being patriotic and being proud of your country, this, that, and the other. It sounds good to say, but our words are very powerful, and we've been giving them energy for too long.
I agree with you on that, but it also makes me want to make sure there's a shitload of people out there in the wild chanting, "Paul will win the lottery," and making that become reality. You think that could be done?
Yeah, there's a way you can do stuff like that, but it's more about shifting the reality. And I was hearing Bashar talk about this the other day. He's a famous channeler, and he was talking about winning lottery numbers and how people hope to get the right number or wish to get the right number, and like it's a predestined number that is supposed to win that lottery. And he said the trick is to um, pick the numbers and shift the reality around those numbers that you pick, and also be open to the possibility of you having abundance and you having freedom and things like that. Not having money, because the money, your mind has a negative connotation of it that's in the background, that when you say money, it says, okay, this could buy a new house, but it might have been in a stripper's G-string. You know, I don't know, you know,
That's
or
my
the
favorite
money,
type of money.
or or the money's the root of all evil. You've heard that too much. So when you hear money, you can't really use money in your prayer or intention to
No, I get it.
manifest. It has to be freedom, abundance, um, new experiences, things like that. And then the universe is like, oh, we can do that. We
Then
can we can make
technically,
that happen.
I've already won the lottery because I've been saying for the past year, right? I really want to quit work. I really want to quit work. I need to be doing other things, and it has come to fruition. I won't tell you how it came to fruition, but suffice to say, I am now free. So it wasn't about money; it was about the freedom. So I'm glad you said that because that strikes a chord. Right, we are
Yeah.
quickly going to enter the Koit zone. Koit zone. Now, in the Koit zone, I ask you inane, random questions. Some good, some sensible, but just answer best you can. So let's start with an easy one. What's your favourite TV show?
Homestead Rescue.
Your episode specifically, yeah?
Homestead Rescue episode. Oh, another thing, funny about that episode. It's season 11, episode 1. So it's 111.
111.
Yeah. So yeah, Homestead Rescue season 11, episode 1 would probably be my favorite.
Quality. That's not self-serving in any way, shape, or form. Um, I'm going to ask this question anyway, even though we sort of touched on it earlier. Have you ever had a recurring dream?
Yes.
Is it a brief and quick and amazing story?
It's a dream that's shared by yes and no. It's a dream that's shared by a lot of people. It's commonly referred to as like an awakening dream or a shamanistic dream. It's a series of dreams that happen to people, and the longer that I'm in this field, the more and more I hear the same story over and over again. It's a series of floods, it's a series of fires, it's a series of natural events. Sometimes they're in the dreams, there are multiple natural events happening all at the same time. I've seen like multiple tornadoes, and it'd be raining, lightning, and earthquake at the same time, things like that. So, um, it's commonly referred to as like an awakening dream. And
And you keep
it
getting them.
could I don't keep getting them. It's more when it happens, it happens over a few weeks or months time frame and then they stop. But it's a point in it seems to be in people's awakening process that
Oh, okay. I
um
see.
it's like a benchmark that people go through. And um it could be interpreted a lot of different ways. It could be possibilities. It could be glimpses into the future. It could be glimpses into the past. It could be both.
Mm.
But I think there's no coincidence that I am in a high elevations place and been guided to have uh, a self-sustaining homestead and the available to travel without having motor vehicles and things like that. I don't think there's any, for me, I took those very as messages that it could happen. So
So are you Noah?
I don't know. I might be on the ark. My barn actually kind of looks like the
That's what I
ark,
mean.
but I don't know if I'm Noah, but I think when I was asked why all these dreams were coming, I was told that there was going to be five different points around the world, and this was one of the points. This area in the United States was one of five areas that was going to be a safe haven for times to come that I was going to see in my lifetime.
Oh, wow. That's not disconcerting in any way, shape, or form, is it? No, it's a good thing. What is the best way to cook a potato?
Oh, wrapped in foil in a fire.
Oh, I've never had that, but I can understand what it would be like. Dash. Do you have butter on that potato, by the way?
Yeah,
Good on you.
for
Good
sure.
choice.
Yeah, butter,
What?
bacon, chives.
Oh, I'd have the butter and the bacon, but no chives. Hold those, they're gross.
Okay.
What's the best thing you've personally designed and built?
My kids.
Oh, that's a nice way of looking at it. Yeah, no, it's the right answer. It came straight to you. Um, and it's the supplemental question I wrote down, right? And did you keep going back to look at it in a sort of I'm proud of that sort of way? And now that couldn't be any more apt, could it?
Yeah, that's my whole life now.
Yeah, good on you. What was the last film you turned off because it was crap?
Oh, the Cat Williams comedy special last night.
Oh, you turned it off. I've never watched any of his stuff, so I can't vote on that one. But good on you again. Right, you fall into a hole that leads to a place and time in history of your choosing. Because what it does, it reads your mind as you're passing through this porthole. Where are you going?
Hmm. United States uh before all the settlers come over, but like like old Native American, don't have to worry about settlers and all that.
Cool, cool. Yeah, long before the Vikings, Egyptians, and all others.
E-
God knows what else.
Oh, now you said Egyptian. Maybe Egyptian. There was a lot going on in ancient Egypt, so
Mm.
maybe Egypt. I don't know. I got a lot of I like to travel.
Well,
I
that's one for you
love
to ponder after this and tonight. Yeah, where are you
yeah.
going if you fall down one of these porthole holes?
Thanks
Um,
for occupying my mind for the next day and a
that's
half.
good. You're going to occupy a bit more with this one. What cake is your downfall?
What cake?
Yeah.
Red velvet.
And so if there was one right behind you now, would you have to have a piece?
Probably not.
Ah, You could hold off then. Good on.
Well, I just got a new a suit top, a vest, a jacket, a suit
Yeah.
jacket, and it's kind of tight already. So I'd probably
No more red coat for you. Do you have a favorite pair of underpants?
no,
Okay. What about when you were a kid? Did you have a favorite pair of underpants?
I don't think so. Never come to mind.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. What is the most athletic thing you've ever done?
Oh, sun dancing for 4 days without food and
Oh yes,
water.
clearly, clearly. No one can
Or
beat that.
another thing would be I tried out for Army Special Forces. So when I was in the military, in between deployments, I tried out for the Special Forces unit, which was like 23 days, and it was hell on earth. And that was yeah, probably close to one of the most physical things. It's funny, I didn't mention this before, but that that space that people have outside of their comfort zone, when they can push past their comfort zone, then they have reserve day or two of energy. I found that same space, and I'm actually thinking about writing a book about this. I found that same space in Army Special Forces training, when I was trying out for to be a Green Beret. There's a point where during that training where something switched in me when I thought I didn't have another minutes left, and it ended up being week. I had another week of of going through this thing left in me, and there was a lot. It was looking back on it, it was pretty much a spiritual experience. As my mind had this blockage of what I was capable of doing, and unbeknownst to me, there was much more left in me. I think all of us have that same truth in us, but it was the similarities between the Sundance and Army Special Forces. I think I'm gonna write a book on that.
Yeah, it's definitely fertile ground, put it that way. Which leaves us with the final question of the Koit Zone. Can you sing or dance? And you can clearly dance, so let's put that aside. Oh no, actually, you might not be a good dancer, even though you did the sun dance. Were you doing dad
I,
dancing?
I was doing native dancing. I don't know. I guess it depends on the audience. I can dance in my living room, but if I get out in public, I can't dance. But I can sing. I sing in a couple different languages, Spanish, Lakota, sing different songs, prayer songs. So singing is a big part of our ceremony practice. So
Super ace. Well, look, thank you for answering those questions. I know some of them are very random. Which lead us to our last two questions. First of which is, what else do you like to do in your downtime? Any activities or guilty pleasures away from homesteading?
um I like to explore I like to explore places, hike places like here in this Western United States, we have a lot of petroglyphs, sacred sites that are, some of them are thousands of years old. Um, and dinosaurs, I've been fascinated with dinosaurs since I was a kid. And, going to different spots where there's dinosaur prints and dinosaur bones, things like that, which we have a lot of those places here in the United States. So.
Yeah, lush. I do love dinosaurs myself, so well done. The last question before I talk about potential for the future, what are you currently working on right now?
Getting ready for the next retreat. So we're in between retreats. We have people showing up. Um, End of this week, beginning of next week, we have people showing up. This is our busy time right now. Our spring summer months. So it's spring summer here in the States. So this is our busy time of year for ceremonies, and just constantly doing improvements to the homestead. I'm working in redoing the front porch right now, putting in different railings, took out railing the other day, and updating the railing, updating steps. So it's always the homestead, there's always a project, there's always it, even if it's something, not something new, it's something replacing something that's broke, or I got a couple horses that my wife's been looking at, so might be getting a couple new horses here soon. Usually like when she sees something that she likes, usually it shows up here on the place not too long after that. So
Does she control the purse? They
yeah,
usually do.
yeah. I don't like controlling the money or anything like that. So she definitely does all that. But yeah, just always expansion, um, trying to get on bigger podcasts, bigger shows. Um, you know, always always doing that. So I'm my own. I do have like an agent. She helps me out booking people, but most of the time I'm the only person, reaching out and sending out books to different people trying to get on shows and stuff. So I like I think my time doing ceremony is coming to an end. I think it's just taking a lot out of me now, more so than what it had been over the years. So I think me speaking is going to be more and more shifting more into a speaking role than ceremony role.
We all have next chapters in our life, and obviously yours is, very close. Look, I want to say thank you ever so much for your time today. There was loads of other ground that I had questions for and ready to go over, but our time is at an end. So if possible, and if you're amenable to it, can we schedule something else for the future, and we can discuss all the like channeling, ET contacts, your books, sorry, and all that other stuff.
Anytime, man. Anytime. I'm an open book. So
Super lush. Thank you ever so much. And anyone watching this, check out the links in the description. There are links to the books and to his website. So go and check those out now. Thank you ever so much for watching, everyone, and or listening if you're listening on Spotify or Amazon, etc. And thank you. To watch other KoitCast episodes, please click the image top left. To subscribe to my channel, please click the image top right. Please like and share to help KoitCast grow, and most importantly of all, please click the notification bell so you never miss an upload.